Greetings all, I'm Andrew with another Buckin' Good how-to tutorial. Today we're going to be discussing how to change your water heater. We'll go over some of the steps, some helpful hints, and some concerns that may come along the way. Stay tuned in this brief tutorial, you won't want to miss it. So, first things first, why would you want to change your water heater at all? Well, if it's not extremely obvious, it's because the water isn't heating. But answering the question of why it's not heating could be for a myriad of reasons. Quite frankly, too many to list for this video. But suffice it to say that a good rule of thumb is to check for the simplest thing first. If it's something as simple as a pilot light went out, obviously we're not going to buy a new water heater for that. But if it's something a little more advanced than, say, a bad heating element, perhaps it's time to consider replacing it. In terms of replacing this unit here, the reason why is because the tank is failing. It's rusting out. As you can see, it started leaking at the bottom. The good news, I suppose, is that this drip pan and the pipes are doing what they're supposed to do. This is a fail-safe in case of an overflow. But regardless, there's no amount of refurbishing that can be done to salvage this unit. And there's no warranty remaining, so it's time to replace. Something to consider when you're buying a new one is to make sure whether it's electric or gas. Now this one is natural gas, so that's something very important for you to note before you buy. In terms of de-installing the unit, the very first thing you got to do is drain it. So we're connecting a standard garden hose and draining it, running it out onto the street. Let's go over some of the items we'll be using for this job. An assortment of pipe wrenches, adjustable wrenches, a power drill, and some Blue Monster thread sealant. Uninstalling and reinstalling a new water heater is quite a bit more involved than some of the other videos that we've done. So you might want to consider getting a helping hand to do it. Here you see Chris removing the insulation sleeve to expose the piping. Now here's the external water source, so that's getting pumped in, and then once it heats, it pumps out into the house through that one. I think I forgot to film it, but to the right, you can't see it in this shot, but to the right, there's a valve, and that's going to shut off your water. Obviously, before you uninstall, you need to make sure that the water is off. We also need to uninstall this vent hood, which has a very important job, which is to pipe away excess heat and natural gas to prevent it from building up in your water heater closet. As it relates to why this is realistically a two-man job is because of the weight of this tank. And if you're in a state like Texas or Florida where there's heavy calcium buildup, here's why it's extra heavy.
So this tank is from 2016. It's 2025 right now, so it's had 9 years to build up and develop calcium within the tank. Over time, it just does that naturally with the chemicals and things just in the water.
Especially in Texas.
Yeah, especially in Texas. It's good frequently, at least twice a year, to go to your backwash and release the pressure, wash it out, hook up a line here to the bottom, clean it out, because it helps clean out the calcium in the tank. With calcium in the tank, let's say this tank's 150 pounds. With calcium in the tank, it could double. You know, even if you drain all the water out, that calcium's still in there. You can't just cut the tank open and get it out. So it stays in there, and over time, it decreases the efficiency of the tank. So it's recommended to get it switched out between 5 and 10 years. This one is right at about 10. So at this point, it's not a warranty. we got to switch it out. It's leaking down at the bottom. So better switch it out now than it blow up later, and then it's a whole nother problem. So this tank here is a overpressure tank. If the pressure exceeds the recommended pressure in the tank, it'll expand into this. Or if the water gets shut off and basically like a water hammer effect takes place, this helps prevent, blow-ups. It's not, a total fail-safe, but it's at least a measure of protection. Most tanks nowadays have these as that protection, but we got to remove it to remove the tank. So it's coming out.
In terms of safety, one of the most important things is to make sure that your gas valve is shut off. You don't want natural gas being piped through while you're trying to uninstall. In terms of actually removing the unit, you may have to remove some of the PVC piping. We're also uninstalling the collar that leads to the drip tray. Now we're pulling the old unit out, setting it on that dolly, and getting it out of our way. Now we're ready to unbox the new one. This one's a very good performance platinum ream. Cut the perforations along the bottom of the box and pull straight up. Now what we tell our clients is don't neglect this part. Make sure you're registering any unit that you get and take full advantage of how good these warranties are. Moving right along, we're reinstalling the vent hood. We're now reinstalling all the fittings, copper and brass, couplings, all in the same configuration as they were before. When you're reinstalling anything related to natural gas, make certain that you have a very good seal. And as you can see, the valve is set to the open mode. Out of an absolute abundance of caution, we're using this tool, which is a Home Flex gas leak detector. We like to use this tool because it is extremely sensitive. It can pick up the tiniest microns possible. I mean, we're talking parts per million. Now we're going to have to reconstruct that piping that led to the outlet to the exterior of the home. You may recall I called it PVC, and in a sense it is PVC. However, it's a special kind of PVC called CPVC. As it relates to anything involving hot water, the distinction is very critical. CPVC is designed intentionally to withstand high temperatures in excess of 200 degrees. You may be asking, well, can't you just use PVC? You can, however, I strongly recommend that you upgrade to CPVC because the PVC is going to degrade much, much faster. I'm sure all plumbers in the comment section will back me up on that. Now that all the fittings are back in place, we're going to reattach an insulation sleeve. Everything has been reconstructed, so we're now ready to fire it up. We turn the gas back on, and now we're attempting to ignite the pilot. It may be a little difficult to see in this shot, but you can kind of make out the blue flame. The pilot light is on. Of course, be mindful that every manufacturer is going to be different, but for this model, the status code that we're looking for is blue. Blue is normal operations. Anything in red is bad. The only thing remaining is to turn the water back on, and let's get that water heated back up. Once the tank is full, make sure you're checking the water pressure, check the temperature, make sure the setting is at a desirable temp. And that's it, folks. That's everything. That's how you change out your water heater. Thanks everyone for watching. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe, and we'll see you on the next one.